Hi, I'm Andy, and this is my lesson on string concatenation in Java. In this lesson, I'll show you how to concatenate strings using a plus sign. I'll also show you what plus equals does when applied to strings. Let's get started. Let's write a program that prints a greeting to the user. To do so, we first need to ask for the user's name and store it into a string variable. I showed how to do this in the previous lesson. Now I want to print a message like, "Hello, Andy," where of course Andy is replaced with whatever name the user entered earlier. To do that, I need to glue together three strings: hello, whatever stored in name, and an exclamation point. Gluing strings together to make one big string is called concatenation. The operator that concatenates strings in Java is the plus sign. So the plus sign in Java can do two things. If applied to integers or doubles, it adds the numbers together. But if applied to strings, it concatenates the strings, meaning it produces a new string object, this one containing all the text from all the strings. When you concatenate strings, a new string object is made, and its address is returned. We need to put an assignment operator so our program can grab that address and store it into a string reference variable. We also need to add a space after the O in hello so that hello and the person's name are not smashed together into one word. Now we can print our greeting to the user. We can also concatenate strings directly in our print line statement, like this. By the way, strings like this that appear explicitly in our program, they aren't generated by our code or obtained from a string reference, are called string literals. We use string literals all over the place in this program. Okay, so you just saw that the plus sign is used to concatenate strings. Now let's see what the plus equals sign does. Look at this code and let's see what gets printed out when we run it. So it looks like the string first word now contains the text swimming pool. Let's see why that is. First, these two lines of code create our two string objects in memory and also create their reference variables. Recall, we use arrows like this to indicate that a reference variable contains the address of a particular object. Next, this line of code executes. Remember, the plus equals shortcut is simply a shortcut for this line of code. By writing it out this way, it'll be easier to analyze. At first glance, it may appear that this line of code is changing the first word string object by adding another string to it, but that's not quite right. String objects are, in fact, immutable. That means that once they're created, their data cannot be changed in any way. So to analyze this line of code correctly, we need to think a bit more carefully. As always, let's first look at what's happening on the right side of the assignment operator. Since string objects are immutable, when you concatenate them, neither string object actually changes. What happens is that Java produces a new string object, one that contains the text from the two strings combined into one long piece of text. When this new object is created, its address is returned. This assignment operator is capturing that address and putting it into the string reference on the left, first word. Notice that although first word's original string object didn't change, it's immutable after all, the address stored in first word did change. First word now contains the address to the newly created string object. Also notice that first word's original string object is now no longer accessible because it doesn't have a reference variable associated with it, and all object access occurs through reference variables. Because this object is no longer accessible, it is taking up memory for no reason. Java has a process, fittingly called a garbage collector, that will, at some point, free that memory up, essentially deleting this object. So this is the situation we have after the plus equals code executes. That means that when we print out first word, we print this text, the text contained in this newly created string object. As a final challenge, what do you think this will print out? To figure this out, make sure you write out the expanded version of the shortcut line of code. Okay, let's see what we get. We got hot, hot dog because this line of code concatenated three strings together, hot, hot, and dog, into a new string object whose address was then stored in Word. As you can see, the plus equal symbol for strings can be difficult to analyze. Always make sure you write out its expanded version so you can see what's really going on. And that wraps up this lesson on string concatenation in Java. I'm Andy. Thanks for watching and coding with me today.